Welcome to the Tuesday, April 28th edition of the Day Weather Podcast. Now, with this recent turn of events to much warmer, sunny, and almost summer-like weather that's coming, I want to start off the podcast with Ask the Weatherman, because these are the three questions I usually get in late April and early May, especially when it warms up. Can I plant my tomatoes? No. For most of the region where people watch this podcast, you got to remind yourself that it's usually not until the second or third weeks of May before our average last frost freeze date. Now, I need to remind everybody, if you have forgotten, that a year ago, we had snow all the way up through the third week of June in many areas of Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado. The High Plains region had a very cold spring last year and early start to summer. So you really just want to hold off. Are we done with the snow? Emphatically, no. Even though we're going to be looking at some areas of eastern Colorado and western Kansas hitting 90 degrees on Thursday, we, believe it or not, probably aren't done with snow. We tend to have to get through that middle part of May, usually around or after that Mother's Day weekend, before we can start to breathe easier. Can I start up my sprinkling system? A lot of folks want a watering. I've seen a lot of folks watering. Well, while we probably are done with severe freezing, we're not done with freezing. So if you want to wait, let Mother Nature bring the rain, hold off on that sprinkler system, certainly I would. Now let's talk about why I make those recommendations. This is where we are today. We have that ridge of high pressure along the west coast, but this little dip right here, this little ripple, is the cold front that is going to make it windy and a little bit cooler across this region today. There also will be a little bit of shower activity in this area today, mainly some sprinkles and some gusty winds. But this is sort of interrupting what was a great day yesterday, but this system is going to head off. And look at this. This is by tomorrow night into Thursday and Friday. We've got that deep trough heading towards the Great Lakes in New England, but this high pressure ridge is going to draw desert air right into the region. The warmest days of 2020 coming right here over the next few days, and it gets started tomorrow and it lasts through Friday. On Saturday, now it doesn't look like much is coming, but you notice this little depression right here. This is a broad, weak area of low pressure coming off the west coast. And while it doesn't look like much, what it will do is there's going to be a pocket of moisture that's going to move into this area right here over the weekend. And with the air aloft, high above the ground, still cold, and with temperatures still mild, well, this area right here will bring developing shower and thunderstorm activity starting late Friday, continuing into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So we're going to have some good old-fashioned garden variety showers and thunderstorms. I think there's a good chance of it for many areas, especially in Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, parts of northern Colorado, eastern Idaho, eastern areas of Utah. So you're probably going to get some rain for your lawns this weekend and into early next week. By the middle of next week, we have another trough sling in off the Pacific across Montana and the Dakotas. Notice how the low is more north, as it usually, the jet stream goes more north this time of year. But this type of pattern, this is around Monday night and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Well, this is going to bring colder weather back to the region, probably wet weather as well. So after these very warm temperatures, we're going to see a dip. And here's the dip in temperatures. Relative to average, temperatures by next Tuesday and Wednesday are going to get colder across the northern Rockies and the northern Plains states. This is why you don't plant your tomatoes. This is why you hold off on your sprinkling system. We still have bouts of cold weather coming, but in between the bouts of cold weather, we have these big warm-ups. So next week is not going to be nearly as warm. Going back to our sunspots, interesting little turn of events here this last couple of days. We've had actually two very small sunspots show up. What's interesting, this most recent sunspot right here is part of the new solar cycle. This sunspot here is part of the old solar cycle. The reason we know that, the polarity of the magnetic fields are different. Notice we have positive over here, negative over here, opposite of this one. This is a sign that indeed the solar minimum is bottoming out, and solar cycle 25 should start up in the next month or two, although we're still deep in the strongest solar minimum in over 100 years. But when we start to see sunspots from both the old and the new solar cycles, that's an indication that things are slowly changing with solar activity. Key word there, slowly. And as we go through the summer, we'll keep you updated on that solar activity. We're about ready to hit May, and we've only had a couple of sunspots here in the month of April, and that is much less sunspot activity than was predicted. So the solar minimum is still very, very low. Thanks for watching and listening to the Day Weather Podcast. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.